So here we have the walking lunges. Now one of the key parts behind the walking lunges is making sure that it is something you progress with based on your strength and your balance. You don't want to be doing walking lunges if you haven't established good strength and balance coordination in your legs. So maybe going to doing squats will be a good option before you look at doing this. Now, common mistakes is, again, because you're walking lunges, you'll often lose a lot of balance. And the last thing I want you to feel is the confidence of not finding the right balance. The second part is then once you, well, for some people, once they've got the balance, they end up letting their knees cave in. And this is common, which then obviously shifts the weight to more sort of a adductor, knee pain, hip challenges, problems. So what we want to look at is making sure that we are setting up in a nice shoulder width stance, and then when we walk through, we're creating a nice gap between our feet rather than keeping our feet nice and narrow. And that again will shift and make it more harder if your feet are narrow. So keeping a nice wide base as you lunge through. The next point is then looking at how fast you do it, because a lot of times people want to just like run through. Okay, so we want to then highlight that we want to try to place the weight on the front leg that we're placing on. So when we go down smooth, and we try and drive through that front leg. So then that helps with keeping the tension on the desired muscle. The other part is how low do you go? Now, ideally, we want to try and get as close to our knee, as close to the floor as possible. So I try to encourage that your knee is like tapping water. I don't want you to think about splashing the water, but rather than sort of tapping water just to make it ripple. So when you step down, you just tap the water and you're able to drive through that front leg. And this will help keep good control and good muscle focus on the exercise. So again, just avoiding the whole speed, knees caving in, but really focusing on the control that you land and then really driving through onto that front leg. A good little cue is if you want to, you can practice closing your eyes and focusing on the front legs and your glutes. One additional, I know this I've mentioned a few, is the lower back caving in. Now, this often happens is because people will take too far of a step forward and they can create too much of a gap. So that makes the person have to shift their hips back to stand up. So making sure that your angle is adequate where you step forward. So you don't want to step forward too far and you don't want to step too far short because you won't give enough room. Okay, so you want to make sure that there's a good distance that you're able to drop your knee down to then step forward. Hopefully that summarized the walking lunges, and as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a DM at any time.